up, everybody? Thanks for joining me on these analysis here. We've been riding up this trend line, got our nice bounce. We've gotten our nice bounce off of this horizontal level of support and resistance, which we spoke about. We've had this drawn out for an extended period. We got our close, and then we did say something about getting a close above this zone, coming back, retesting, and pushing up higher. And then getting some rejection here, which we have done already. Hopefully that's the end of the rejection. We'll see how it plays out. But as you can see, we've been struggling here. Price action looks a little funny on the 4-hour, but you can see it a little bit better here on the daily. So we've had a rejection for about three days or so. And now it looks like we're trying to break our way through. Hopefully we can break this recent high of 403.69 and push up higher to the top of this golden zone. If you aren't familiar with this by now, we'll do a quick draw out so you can see this is a bearish pull to the downside. So this is supporting price to the downside. So you're pulling, and when you retrace back here, this increases the chance of price falling down. So what we want to see is this close above here to somewhat invalidate this. It doesn't mean that we can't push up to the 786 and then retrace back, but it does decrease the likelihood of that happening. So ideally we'd want that break above here, retesting and pushing up higher. We are getting our steady climb up, but we haven't seen the major increase in volume yet. We have seen it here on a couple of these candles, but right now it's kind of been in a sideways consolidation, not too much volume. So let's see if we get some large volume to push up price much higher. And it seems like with Microstrategy, it's kind of a trend that continues. Once you get one nice volume day and then Bitcoin continues to rise, then you get another one and so on. It's kind of like a domino effect. And that's when you can start getting the large moves to the upside. But overall, it looks very bullish in my opinion. The move is really starting to play out like this previous leg here. It doesn't really look as much like the first one. This one was pretty much just straight vertical. This one's a more steady climb, and it looks like we're starting to repeat that, which is ideal for anybody that's holding MSTY because you get to get your dividend payouts a little bit more before the next leg down, which I could potentially see, maybe we make it to the top of this range, and if it's a right translated cycle, we make it all the way down here, and then we make another leg up higher towards the end of the year. If it's a left translated cycle, like I've said prior, if it's a left translated cycle, this move maybe, July, August, ends up being a larger move than we anticipate, breaks out of this channel, wicks back inside, and then that's the end of the move. If it's a left translated cycle, that would be based off of economic conditions that aren't very good, and that would be the reason why we'd get a left translated cycle. But I don't know if that's the base case scenario, but it definitely is a possibility. As we have the yield curve uninvert, which usually precedes recessions. So maybe there could be one on the horizon. Let's see if the Fed allows us to, get a soft landing. It doesn't happen very often. So let's see if it ends up playing out like that. But actually, speaking of the Federal Reserve, actually gonna take a look here and compare the interest rates to Bitcoin, and you can kind of see that Bitcoin likes to rally in the pauses. So also factor in the fact that these guys, they factor in these pauses ahead of time. So before the actual pause comes, they will already be anticipating it, and price will be moving in sync as if things were already paused. They're always forward looking. But as you can see, during these pauses, Bitcoin tends to have some of its largest rallies within the pauses. Not that it doesn't rally in other times, but it does have very large rallies within that period. And you can see here, as they slammed interest rates down, then we got the pause. You can see Bitcoin shot up instantly once that pause began. So, and as the interest rate hike came, you can see that we got our double top because they're forward looking. Even though the interest rate hike came in February, you can see here in November that was the top because we were already forward looking. And you can see it here as well. Within this short period of a pause, you can see how Bitcoin absolutely blasted through. And then you did actually get a rally during a rate hike here, but if you notice, it was a slow, steady increase in rate hikes. It was a lot slower than this one. This one's like straight vertical. So that's going to be super bearish. Since it was a steady increase, price was still able to rally because there was plenty of pauses in between. As you can see, you have a large pause here, which was probably anticipated over here. So you have this large move here and a slow increase. And on the pauses, you can see this is probably the largest pause in this whole hike. And that's when you got your largest move. So I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but you do see the largest moves during the pause. And we're going to pause today because the Federal Reserve has a meeting, and we're probably going to pause again like we've seen prior. And this could potentially be bullish for Bitcoin with the pause. So, of course, cutting interest rates is bullish for risk on assets, but Bitcoin historically has rallied during these pauses. So keep that in the back of your mind. Like we spoke about the last video, the 20 moving average on the 4 hour does tend to get our bounces and continue the price move up in the bull trend. As you can see here, it has happened multiple times. So let's see if that continues. And this move here, it looks like that could potentially be happening right here. We didn't quite get a touch, but we got pretty close enough. And let's see if it shoots price up again, and then the 4 hour 20 moving average will continue following price and potentially get a bounce at a higher level and push price even higher. On the 1 hour time frame, as you can see, the 50 is kind of playing that role where it's getting the bounce. It did get the bounce off here, kind of like a double bottom pushing up higher. And you can see in the bull trend here, the 50 played a key role in continuing the movement upward. As you can see, you had multiple bounces on the way up. We did fall underneath it slightly here, but overall it does keep the bull trend intact. So this is another thing that you can, keep your eye on. The RSI does look like it's trying to create a new fresh high. It looks like it potentially might have found its bottom and is starting to push up higher. Hopefully we can crack this 69.3 and get to the overbought territory with momentum behind us and strength. Here we're kind of in the same position, but a little bit lower. So we do want to see this move above 70 as well on the weekly. And on the monthly, we are above our yellow moving average. So let's see if this trend can continue and push up higher. We have found support at this level previously, as you can see here. This does seem like a key level that we found. Support, fell through, resistance, support, and now we're finding support again. And we're getting our strong bounce off of it, hopefully to create a triple top here on the RSI on the monthly and get that overbought zone that we're talking about, where we get that nice green filled RSI above 70. On the weekly MACD, we're looking very good. This move has really started to play out well. It's starting to go absolutely vertical as it was just breaking above. Now it's starting to head upward completely. And we have seen this prior where we're above the dotted line and we do get the cross. So it has happened prior and it's been a continuation of the bull trend. So this is nothing new that we haven't seen before. We've had it here, which was the start of this move. We've had it here. We had this cross here, which was the start of this move. So it has happened prior. As you can see, it has happened multiple times. So even here, we had a cross here, and that was the start of this leg up here as well. So it does continue to happen time and time again. Hopefully it plays out the same way. But overall, everything's looking extremely bullish. Bitcoin's looking good. We broke above 97,000 last night. Hopefully the trend continues and this isn't a little fake out move to the downside. When you take a look at global liquidity, we are making our way back up, which is a beautiful sign. We love to see that. We're pushing up and we're almost going to create a fresh high again, which is amazing, which means Bitcoin's going to have a more extended move, which, starts leaning towards the right translated cycle idea. But that doesn't guarantee anything, of course. But this move is starting to be extended. So if we were to extend it out, this move, if this ends up breaking above here, we're already 113 days. Maybe by the time it breaks it, the move has been going on for 120 days or something like that, which means if you go from Bitcoin's bottom here and you push out 120 days, for instance, 120 days is going to put you at, the beginning of August. And it could continue rallying even further. So we'll see. We're just going to be playing it piece by piece, day by day, and I'll just keep you guys updated, of course. Make sure you like and subscribe if you guys enjoy content like this. It really helps out the channel, and the algorithm lets the algorithm know that you enjoy content like this, and it pushes out the content to other people so they can see this as well. And everybody can win. We can all win together. So let me take a look here at Bitcoin. We have our channel that we're inside of, our range. This is our larger range here, and then you have a smaller range here, which is kind of the midpoint of this entire range. This is our key level that we're focused on now. We want to break above 98.3, and ideally we'd want to see a close above 99.2. I think if that were to happen, we're really in a good spot. Ideally, it would be on a weekly close too. Of course, we want to see it on the daily first and then on the weekly, but that would be a perfect play out, because 99.2 puts you right around this wick, this area of wicks, and then from there on we can break to the top of this range and then break all-time highs. And that's going to give Bitcoin that momentum and bullishness that it needs, that sentiment. And we were actually talking about it yesterday. The week hasn't finished, of course, so this does not have to play out. But we were speaking of a wick fill, and honestly, it's looking like we're getting a wick fill right now. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to play out because things are always subject to change. Bitcoin can absolutely tank, and this turns out to be a wick, and it actually ends up being a lower high, and we push down further, and we break down below 92.8, and we fall. But it does look like we're getting this wick fill that we were talking about yesterday in the video. Yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about. So starting the base of the candle here and filling this entire wick all the way to the top, but we haven't filled it yet. So let's see if it does happen. Let's see if we blast right through. That would be amazing. When we look at the Tether Dominance, we are starting to get a drop again. We were pushing up higher. We were trying to create fresh highs, and it was actually creating a nice trend, and then it broke underneath, retested, how we always speak about once you break it. It broke underneath, got its close, retested, and then pushed down further. And that's why we got this rally in Bitcoin, because of this drop here on the Tether Dominance. So ideally, we'd want to see the Tether Dominance continue to fall. And I have this green line drawn out because this is the level that we want to break. Really, it'd be about 4.97, and then you want to break this last wick at 4.95 so we can get that larger move to the downside. So that's what we want to see on Tether Dominance. We want to make our way all the way down to this blue line, and that's where potentially we could get our top in Bitcoin. But I would imagine if we make it all the way down there, Bitcoin's sitting at mid 100s or even higher, depending on FOMO, institutional buyers, all of that kind of stuff. There's plenty of factors that go into it, but that's what we want to see here. Now we do have support underneath us, which is going to be tough to break. We need to break this 50 and this 20 to the downside. And on the daily, we are looking good. We did get a bounce off the 20-day. It seems like that's the reason why we pushed down. But we do have that resistance on the weekly of the 20 and the 50. And after we break the 20 and the 50 on the weekly, we will have the 200-day here on the Tether Dominance that we do need to break. And once we break that, that's probably going to be the last line in the sand, and we can get a large move on Bitcoin as this falls off. And back to MicroStrategy, we're going to go over what we've spoken about plenty of times before. For anybody that's new, we're going to go over it again. So we've had a bull flag here, and you can use that flagpole to measure out the next move. It was almost spot on. And we'll pull it up all the way to the top here, and then we'll measure out our next move, which is this current flagpole that we're starting to create. And that takes you to this gray zone that we have drawn out here. So this flagpole measured out this one, and then we use this measured flagpole to try and calculate the next move. It doesn't have to be accurate, but it just gives you a little sense of where things could go after creating this recent bull flag here. And then we're going to show a little bit of correlation between Fibonacci's when you actually pull them. When you flip the Fibonacci retracement and you make it almost like an extension, you can see this is based off of this move here, from this high on this wick to this bottom. So this whole flagpole is essentially being measured out. It called the 2272, the 2618. That's essentially where we landed. We did get a blow off top, but that's pretty much spot on. That's good enough in my book. That's I don't need to hit the exact top. I just need to get, you know, a piece of it, and it can change your life. So here again, if this were to play out the exact same way and we create another bull flag like we showed and it measures out the target, it does land right here in the 2272 to the 2618, which is where the Fibonacci extension is showing that price could potentially land before we get that next reset and potentially another leg up higher. Hopefully we see the same pattern again. That would be the ideal scenario, where we've had this move here, reset, move up, reset, move up, reset for the final move before the fall. So I just wanted you guys to keep that in mind, or don't forget about that. And then we're gonna do fibs in the standard way. As you can see, we bounced off the 618 before getting our leg up higher. That was the bottom here at the 618, pushed up higher. And then when you pull that all the way up higher, and it takes into account for both of these legs, we also got to bounce off the 618 here. So this move is irrelevant, and it's essentially here to here, and we got to bounce off the 618. Perfect bounce to continue price higher. This is the most bullish zone in the Fibonacci sequence, in my opinion, and it looks like it's playing out again. And then we're going to pull it to a shorter duration for this most recent flag here, and we got a bounce underneath the 618, and now we're already recovering, and we're pushing above the 382, super bullish. And then eventually we will make it to all-time highs and push up higher. Overall, though, I am extremely bullish on MicroStrategy. I do think, I mean, we've been saying it even when we were falling, we were saying how bullish we were. So I do think this should play out very well. Hopefully we hit our $1,000 target. Keep in mind that if Bitcoin does rally up, it could deviate a little bit higher, especially when you start looking at this model here. So if we do hit, for instance, 142K, which is supposed to be 1,000 Bitcoin, there's always deviation. Like currently we're deviating by 10%. So imagine we're at 142K, MSTR is at 1,000, but then it deviates 10%. That puts you at 1,100 right there. So I do expect something like that to happen. We could even hit 1,000 earlier, because if you're sitting at, for instance, 135 or something, and you're sitting at about $900 and it deviates 10 to 12%, now you're sitting at almost $1,000 at 135 or 136, which is sooner than the model anticipates. So I could definitely see that happening later on down the road. But like I said, I remain bullish, and I do think this could be a good opportunity, not financial advice. Like and subscribe, share with your friends. I'll see you guys in the next one.